Welcome back to Forefathers, the space where we unpack the lessons we learned from the men who came before us and how those lessons shaped the men we're becoming today. I'm your host, Gareth Ruswa, and today we're diving into a powerful conversation. Yesterday's man versus today's man. How values, culture, discipline, expectations, and even school environments have shifted across generations. Today I'm joined by my good friend and brother, Godfrey, someone who's deeply passionate about understanding these generational contrasts. We'll explore what yesterday's men held on to, what today's men have embraced, and what the next generation of men can learn from both. Let's get into it. Godfrey, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you,
good
brother.
to have you.
Yeah, man. Shout out, dude.
Perfect. I think firstly, congratulations are in order since you just finished the High Rocks.
Boo, guys.
Which is obviously a big test of mental and physical strength.
Thanks, man.
So I thought it wouldn't make sense if we don't start with a bit of a celebration for you.
I appreciate it. Now, High Rocks, what a test, what a challenge, but also something very fulfilling.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons, if I can just add that, one of the reasons why I started it, I think it was just part of my mantra with trying to tackle adulthood or adulting, as people say it, that you just got to have a challenge, something you look forward to, something you want to take on and conquer, and it helps.
Nice.
To just build towards something. So that was one of those things.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
That's perfect. Again, congratulations, my brother.
Thanks, man.
I think before we dive into our conversation, can you please just share a bit about yourself so that people can kind of know who Godfrey is?
So Godfrey is a liker of things, godly things.
Yeah.
Just to put it out there.
Yeah.
I do. I'm a go-getter, very adventurous. I barely say no to things, and I think that's what actually makes my life quite colorful.
Yeah.
I'm big on memories. I'm very sentimental. I travel quite a lot. In fact, when I just to double click, I barely say no. Ruswa, he buzzed me about this podcast. In fact, we have a group that we're part of, and he was like, "Yo, dude, we're doing this thing. There's this podcast. There's this conversation.
Yeah.
There are these talking points. There's this mission." I couldn't say no to that.
Yeah.
And that's another addition of color to my life, where now we're having good conversations. Hopefully you'll tune into that. So for me, that's who I am. I'm bright, light, action, let's go. Very big on fitness and health and well-being.
Yeah.
I do enjoy learning.
Yeah.
Which has led me to getting a whole bunch of things on my CV. I am a media guy, summary. I'm a professional photographer, videographer, creative director. I'm a musician. I sing. I'm also a poet. I'm a writer. Songs, prose, articles. I'm a life coach. I studied strategic brand communication, so I also consult. I'm a brands enthusiast. I told you I like things. I'm a performer. I'm an MC. I'm a podcaster as well, so at least it's nice and refreshing to be a guest.
Yeah.
Guys, I could go on. I'm a voiceover artist. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think you're a man. Clearly, you're a man of many talents.
Yeah.
But I think the golden thread throughout the talents, as I hear you speak, is you're a go-getter.
Yeah.
And just someone who likes a challenge.
Yeah.
And just someone who very rarely says no to adventure.
Yeah.
So at least now, the people kind of understand who, we have on the show today.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, today we're going to be looking at something that's quite powerful. Yesterday's man versus today's man, right?
Yeah.
There's quite some differences that we're going to touch on and kind of see what the next generation of men can learn from both of these generations.
Yeah.
So what I want to know from you is, when you think of yesterday's man, right? What characteristics or values immediately pop into your head where you're like, okay, and how do those differ from what you see today with the men you see today?
So, I think the first thing that comes about is the different worlds, the different environments that each man had to live in and thrive in and succeed in. I think another part to sort of double click on will be definitions of things, how each man defined success or progress, learning, unlearning. I think those are some of the things that stand out as you've asked this question. So maybe we can start with success.
Okay.
Right? What success looked like to yesterday's man versus today's man. I think, today it's fast life. I'm balling. I've got a fine girl by my side. I've got the material things, for example. I think that's a little bit different from what it looked like yesterday, where maybe it was a bit more family oriented. It was a bit more wealth oriented than riches. There's a difference between wealth and riches.
Can you define that difference for us who don't understand?
Okay, well, at least for my very simple understanding, wealth is a lot more generational and it has more longevity than riches, which may be short term. I think also wealth is a little less tangible than riches.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Perhaps someone who has a lot of money in their bank account might be rich, but they're not particularly wealthy if those riches are only limited to them. Compared to someone who's wealthy who can talk about his children's children who also be rich, or at least wealthy. I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm making sense.
I'm hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you mentioned one thing, right, that I want to kind of touch on. You said the definition of things, right, is something that immediately sparks up to say this was different, particularly looking at success. And you mentioned how yesterday's man was a bit more long-term, wealth versus riches, right? So when we think of today's man and for lack of a better term, the shortcuts that are being taken, do you think that things like social media have had an effect on the instant gratification that we're looking for?
So you definitely swept me out of the feet there on the instant gratification, because that's what I was going to actually highlight. Instant gratification has really affected us, and I would say it's more adverse than it is positive or negative as it would be. The essence of now, it really can make us short-sighted, and just so dissatisfied or not as content as we can be. And I know there's a bit of an asterisk that we can put on that there's nothing wrong with being ambitious, right? There's nothing wrong with having an aspiration or wanting to achieve a lot. But I think if the heart behind it is just like, I've got to eat now and I don't care about tomorrow, then I think that's where things gonna kind of go south, which may also highlight a little bit of a difference between us today. And I say us because I don't want to come off as a saint or the perfect man, today's man, but like us today, if we're not thinking about tomorrow at all, that actually places a difference between us and the men yesterday who were largely also thinking about tomorrow, most of them, or many of them. I don't want to say as well that yesterday's man is better than today's man. We're just different. There's things to learn from both generations. And thank you for breaking that down. I do feel later in the discussion we're going to get back to the difference in definitions, because we just touched on success now, but obviously things like responsibility are also going to vary. What does it look like? What does it mean?
Exactly.
That's good. That's good.
But nonetheless, what do you feel were the strongest qualities from the generations of old, and what do you feel are qualities that we've kind of lost or watered down now that we should maybe have carried forward?
So, okay. I hope I'm saying this with caution, and I don't want to provoke anyone, but
that's your truth, my brother.
And I hope I word it properly. But there's a thing about like tenacity, pedigree, maybe
Grit.
grit. Pedigree is a bit of a not quite a synonym in this case, but yeah, there's a thing about like staying power, determination, and resilience that we could really be inspired by from the men of yesterday compared to today, where perhaps a lot more of the youngsters today just give up a little bit easier, are not as tenacious or determined or driven to succeed and excel. Like any moment that you feel some sort of resistance or discomfort, you're already quitting.
Sure.
So it's a tricky one. I would say that one is one of the more immediate ones, I would say. I mean, there are pros and cons to it, so we can't always laud it. Given, say, for example, one example is how yesterday's man would probably take on a job for 10, 20, 25 years, right? That staying power, that going concern, that prudence, right? Whereas today, any slight inconvenience, you're annoyed with your boss because he farted in your cubicle. I'm quitting. Like, bro. I mean, it's a very dramatic example, I guess. But any slight inconvenience, you're calling your mom. By the way, there's nothing wrong with calling your mom.
Yeah.
But
I hear what you're saying.
Did you get where the door that I'm kind of knocking on? You know?
As you're speaking, I'm realizing that yesterday's men were very duty driven. They were, I am going to do this because I said I would.
Yeah.
Regardless of the
integrity.
Challenges. Exactly. Man of my word.
Yeah.
You know? So there was a lot more of that than you see now. I thoroughly agree with what you're saying, that the minute we face a bit of some discomfort, it's like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
You know, we find other ways to go about it. Whereas yesterday's men were very, very duty driven. Particularly, maybe it's because of the only channels they had for success. It was written to say you're going to do this.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. Whereas us, we have way more options.
Yeah.
So that kind of means that the mind is distracted by a lot of things, because if you have discomfort at your job, you call somewhere else, they're gonna get you. But then now, whereas the generation before, that job already was the gift, so you have to make it work.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know, I want to throw a bone in the pot here, bro.
Okay.
In one sense, today's man, and even we could even extend it to women as well. And I'm going somewhere with this. There was a thing about yesterday where struggle, in every form that it could be defined, was actually applauded in a way, or or awarded or whatever. Like, today, struggle isn't applauded or awarded or whatever. People are like, bruh, why are you struggling? If it's bothering you, then leave or quit or put it away. Whereas yesterday, it's, if something's bothering you or whatever, instead of leaving, deal with it. See it through. Sure. It's a little bit of a tricky one. There was some sort of merit that was given to someone who stuck it through. Whereas today, merit is given to someone who finds another way. Yeah. Or so, again, it's not a right or wrong per se. It's just different. Yeah. Which adds a little bit of a complexion, a different complexion to, or complexity to this conversation.
That's quite interesting that you pointed that out. A lot of things to think about, and already off the bat, you're dropping so many gems, bro, which is great. I think the biggest takeaway is that staying power. I think that's a term you've just coined for us today. You know, staying power, the ability to just stay and see things through. That's a quality I think we need to, you know, and the generations that come after us should pull from these guys, you know, and make it their own. Because that will make you a better man within society. But then now, on the flip side, what are positive traits you think modern men have developed that yesterday's men didn't really lean into?
So, I think the one that you mentioned my passion for conversations like this. I think one of the more immediate ones that came to mind is how we participate in relationships.
Okay.
So I want to believe that in general, yesterday's man was a lot more transactional than today's man, who's a little bit more relational.
Mm-hmm. Please break that down for us.
So, forms of expression when it comes to affection. Yesterday, it was more about what can I give you, how can I give it to you, what can I get from you, what can I take from you, compared to today, where there's a lot more wokeness, a lot more learning and unlearning about how to relate to a person, where it's how can I show up for you, how can I be present, how can I understand you more, things like emotional intelligence, or EQ, as some would put it. I think that is pointing to different traits that today's man has that yesterday's man can learn from. So like, and I can personalize that as an example, that I know some of the clashes that I had with my dad. He would be saying, I'm giving you my best, I'm showing up as my best, and this is my best, where it was a lot more transactional, right? I've fed you, I've sent you to school, I've clothed you, I've educated you, I'm done.
That's
and
how
I'm
I show my love for you.
Right? Which is very much transactional than it is, hey, what if you come for my games? What if you ask me about which chocolate I like? I like reading. Do you know what my favorite book is? The music that I listen to that you're always telling me to switch off. Do you even know it's like, get to know me, right? I feel like there's shifts in that which modern men today are paying a little bit more attention to, that is different to yesterday's man, where there's basic needs, and so it could be a better than or not so good and bad, whatever, but it is different again, that today's child, right, versus yesterday's child, dealing with today's father versus yesterday's father, if we're talking about men, right? Even they can give you different accounts.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And I think, of course, the focal point of this conversation is the man, the father. Of course, you can be a man and a son, but I think, we can kind of go up and down on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I hope I've
what
answered your question on that. Yeah.
You have, bro. And the golden thread is still there. The difference in definitions.
Yeah.
Because on the one end, responsibility to the man of old is that I have paid your school fees, I have fed you, I have done this. But then responsibility to today's man is I need to go to my son's consultation. I need to be there for my son's game.
Yeah.
My emotional availability has to be added onto that responsibility now, because we've seen a gap of what happens when men are, when the father is not expressing himself and allowing the son to express himself, the gaps that kind of creates. So I think today's men, and all credit to them for stepping up and realizing that, okay, no, why am I not going to consultation? Why am I not involved? And why do I not know who Godfrey actually is as a person? Because I think it was more of a tick box exercise back in the day to say, okay, children have shelter, children have eaten, school fees is paid, I'm a good dad. But to say, like you said, even sometimes knowing when your son's birthday is, if you're not reminded by their siblings, you forget. And which was very normal back then, because the justification is, I'm busy making sure you're fed.
Yo, that one, bro, it's it's sad, man. I remember I when, of course, through maturity and increased cognitive abilities and whatever, I would actually actively lament over my dad's plight or challenges as a man. Like when I'm putting myself in his shoes, I'm a bit of a thinker / contemplator, if you research on life languages. I would actually be like, sometimes, because I'm trying to reason my disappointment if I've had a clash with my dad, like, but wait, what is going through this man's mind? Right? What is in his head? What could possibly justify what he's just done or not done for me? right? So I would do that. I would put myself through that thought process, and then I'll clock that. Oh wait, he can't make my game or come to my consultation or my prize giving. I won an award. I killed it at school. I did it. I'm balling. I'm the guy. I'm him. But that affirmation that you want, right?
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you. You want to hear those words, and then he can't provide that, and I have to understand. Yeah. Right. That.
But that was quite mature of you to. Because it's easy to hate and not understand.
Yeah.
But you literally flipped it and were like, I want to understand because I don't want to hate.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's the unfortunate thing is that a child shouldn't have to experience that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we may end up going on a different conversation, but I was placing myself in that. Him as a man in that situation, he's literally sitting on this double-edged sword. Trying to balance provision and presence, right? So today versus yesterday, that I feel like that balancing act is different as well. Today we have post-COVID work life where men can afford to be present, and I use the word afford loosely. Right? Compared to yesterday when maybe they couldn't necessarily afford it, especially from a time point of view. So, hey man.
Yeah, I hear that, but very true that one of the things that we have developed as a generation, as today's men, is just the emotional availability and the presence and kind of valuing that. And yeah, for sure, that's something that the younger generation can take note of.
Yeah.
So now when we kind of take it back and we compare school experiences, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel that school, what did school teach us about manhood back then? And what do you think school teaches boys today?
Woo, your school. So, the thing about school now, I think I want to start with now. There are a lot of social pressures that have affected school dynamics today. Social pressures from various people groups, various cultures, media. It's affecting school life. And it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. It depends on perspective. It depends on application. It depends on environment and context. Lots of moving parts. When I was in high school, so that was between 2006 and 2011, we were on the border of bullying / character development.
Yeah.
In the most physical form.
Yeah.
Right now, bullying and character development, as some have chosen to call it, is a lot more verbal and systemic or systematic and less tangible and visible, if I could say. We were punished very aggressively. There was corporal punishment, mob justice, and all of that. So fear. So I've said what I've said, right?
Yeah.
Hold on to that. Right. Let me try paint a picture.
Yeah, let's go.
Two forces. You're trying to inspire action. If you have a donkey, right, you want that donkey to move. You're either going to draw it towards you or push it away from you. What you want to do is to move. You have a student. You want that student to behave. You're going to draw them towards reward for good behavior or push them away from bad behavior by punishment. Right?
I like that.
You see where the picture I'm painting. So I feel like from yesterday, schooling system, boy to man, teaching boy about manhood, the forces are changing. In our time, though not as bad, fear was the bigger force than
the incentivizing.
Fear was, so instead of being taught about the good that comes from being good, we were shown more of the bad that will result in you being bad.
Oh, Yeah.
Right? We want to produce well-behaved, well-mannered, respectful, and proud high school boys. Fear-led that a lot more than the reward of being a good boy or good student in our time. Whereas now I think it's a little bit more of reward. So the seniors would take it into their own hands a lot of the times where you're getting roughed up a bit.
Yeah.
Or if it's the housemasters, you're getting lashed, right? Not to say that good behavior wasn't rewarded, but I think just the force was just a lot more on we'll wait for you to do bad to show you that doing bad will result in this. And this is unpleasant, so do more good. I don't know if you get what I mean.
I hear you.
So I think that is a difference to note. Today, there's less rough and tough. There's less forceful punishment-oriented approaches to things. There's more positive reinforcement than there is negative reinforcement. And I think that's something to note.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's very true. I mean, the easiest example is that corporal punishment has been cancelled across many schools now, right? But that good and bad, right?
Yeah.
There's no perfect solution. But still, I feel like one of the things that we were taught from a schooling environment was just the ability to respect hierarchy.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one, whereby you can take it anywhere when you enter a room to understand I need to pay my respects here and to understand structure and those sorts of things. So I think I'll just add that onto there as well. Probably now there's more express yourselves within schools as opposed to back then it was
this is how you should express yourself.
Exactly. There was a guideline of expression. You couldn't just freely be, so quite a bit has changed, and that probably affects the discipline of the child in terms of how they then go out into the world.
Yeah.
Good and bad. Probably good thing is that there's less trauma for the child now.
That's true.
So so that's a good one. But in terms of, the cons is that hierarchy and structure may not be respected even when you enter the working world, and you might not be able to follow a strict rulings in different environments because you're not used to that. You're not used to suffering consequences because of your actions, whereas back in the day that's something that was expected. If you did something, there has to be consequences for accountability, so
you can actually see the difference between a lot of 2Ks are now actually adults, which is mad. But you can see the difference between a 2K and a 1K, as I learned recently that they are now 1Ks. You can tell the difference in terms of when people are walking into the boardroom for a meeting, who's greeting, who's listening perhaps a little bit more, who's respectfully rebutting. And I know that's a relative term, because what does respect mean to you versus me? But I think sometimes there are a few things that are a bit general, where you can almost anyone and everyone can point out what would be disrespectful.
Exactly.
Do you get what I mean? But it is quite different now. I know for me, for a long time, and I had to learn this as a skill, that calling anyone older than me, or even sometimes significantly older than me, by their first name was a mind trip for me. Because we were taught in high school that if someone has even a beard and you don't, that's Mr. Mang Mang, that's Miss Mang Mang, Mrs. Mang Mang, whatever. And not that Mang Mang is actually a surname, guys. For those that missed it. But, so and so. So your CEO, your supervisor, your boss, if he happens to be Caucasian, especially in this part of the world, that's... No, don't call me Mr. Bruce. Call me Tom.
So for you, that was like, what?
Right, because respect or... and sometimes respect is actually not even the right word. There's some sort of reverence that comes with age difference, that a person has, by virtue of their age, has to take on a certain place in your life, as you pay respects to them or, honor them. And just simply the way you address them was a big deal for us. But today, dude, a lot of these kids, bruh,
I hear you.
As long as we put pants on the same way,
we're the same people.
We're the same people.
Yeah, I see exactly what you mean with that. And I think there's definitely pros and cons, like we said, to the old school system and the new school system. There's obviously some more expression that the kids now have, to be able to really describe what it is that they want and stand for what they want.
Yep.
That's a skill that before you couldn't even interrogate what you want because you were scared to say because of the consequences that might come through. But obviously the biggest one, like we've described, is just that respect for structure, hierarchy, routine, as well as, discipline. So can't have a perfect world, but you can pick from both worlds. And now when we look at the behaviors or attitudes that, were completely acceptable in the past, but would be discouraged or even frowned upon now, what are some of those characteristics that yesterday's man might have had that in this day and age they'll be criticized or they'll be frowned upon?
So I think two main things came up in my mind. The man's relationship with domination or power or control and stuff. I think there's definitely been a charge to relook that today. Women have more louder voices. There are more voices united as well. People are just pushing back on certain things that just don't make sense anymore. I think that's one big thing. And the other one, which I'd already mentioned, was on it's slipping my mind.
Yeah, probably just the availability, not being available. I can't recall, but nonetheless, we can work around.
That first one.
What's this? The domination, because I do believe that in the past it was very my way or the highway. From a man's standpoint, a lot of the decision making within families was very centralized. There was no input that was coming in from the wife, let alone the children, in any decision. So I think that's something that in this day and age is now frowned upon. Probably another one is just silence means strength. That's probably another one that's now in this day and age we kind of understand that holding things in will affect our relationships in different ways and forms. So now we've kind of evolved to understand that no, this might not be the best way to go about this. So that's pretty interesting.
I think especially that domination one, it is important for people to just know their place in any space, right? It empowers you and it helps you. It helps to inform better decisions as well. Because I know for a big part of this whole thing is sometimes it's just like, but it doesn't make sense, Dad, or Sir, or I don't know, Bro, right? It just doesn't make sense anymore, and I think that we can add that in some sort of parenthesis. But like things just need to make sense, and if this whole domination thing doesn't have a cause or purpose, it really can be disruptive. And I think people are also pushing back on that from yesterday versus today, where because I said so, it just doesn't ring any bell today anymore. Not in the same way anyway. And I think a lot of some men are struggling with that.
that because I said so isn't enough anymore.
It's not enough. Like what you're saying doesn't make sense. In fact, this company is going to lose billions of dollars if we do what you say. I can imagine.
Our family will struggle if we do what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
And
I think even just adjusting to that reality for a lot of men is so jarring as well. Like, oh shucks, okay, so now I actually have to bring substance. Now I actually have to bring very logical and pragmatic reasoning to my stance or sentiments, and that's a challenge for a lot of people. There wasn't too much probing or whatever for you to actually say something meaningful because no one really questioned you. Now we're gonna question you.
That's quite deep. And that's right. In the past, the father of the house was not questioned by anybody,
bruh. And if you did, hey, you might get a backhand.
Exactly. So that actually means that now the decisions that are being made in the family are better because there's more heads contributing.
We want to believe that they're better.
Okay, true.
Yeah.
Are we saying that just because there's more contribution in the decision-making process doesn't necessarily make it better?
It's not going to be automatic. I mean, if you're all dumb, then you're collectively going to make a dumb decision.
Yeah.
Right? So we praise God that there is someone who is not dumb. And of course, that's a very coarse word. But like if that central decision-making thing was that if you're not a good man, or if you're not a made man or apt man or whatever it is, and you then make decisions and no one influences them, we're going to lead to bad outcomes, right? But if you're allowing that input from people that are wiser than you or more competent in certain areas, etc., then the outcome is just better, right? So that's why I'm saying it's a hope that whatever is collective has input from those that are actually competent and fit for. So it's a hope.
I hear you. But that has changed, that aspect of the domination one quite drastically. And now for some of the things that might have been discouraged back then in the past, but then are now celebrated, what are some of those things that maybe our fathers would have discouraged, but then now it's actually celebrated?
Oh, that's an interesting question. What was discouraged but is now encouraged? So I think this was, I'm laughing because my childhood was very very, very adventurous. We were outside. Right? And not the outside we talk about today where we're in the club, of course not. But like I barely watch TV, bro. I read a little bit, but we were outside creating our own games, making up characters and, climbing things and falling. Praise God, I didn't break any bones. But like we were somewhat discouraged from that, right? Come back into the house. Keep your clothes clean. Don't do that. Don't do this. So you were a bit of a menace or a rebel when you're just trying to be a kid. You have all this energy and you just want to be outside. You want to break things open and you want to see what we were discouraged in some way to do a lot of things that we ended up doing anyway. So they would call you a naughty kid when you're actually just expressing yourself as a child who has so much energy. Now, today, a lot of kids are on their iPads and their phones and they're indoors, they're watching TV, and now they're trying to get these kids out of the house.
That flipped.
And that's for me is quite funny. It's funny. Kids, a lot of parents are desperate to get their kids out of the house, and some don't even know whether their kids can run or not. You know what I mean? Because this kid is always sitting and bro. It's funny, but it's also scary and sad because now, and again, it's maybe not so much that one is better than the other. Not always the case anyway, but they are different. That kids today who have some crazy cognitive skills, impressive, but motor skills maybe not so much.
I see.
You know what I mean? But so that balance as well. I think that's an interesting one to pick on.
A very interesting one. And maybe the sense of adventure then the kids is gone because now they kind of get that adventure from watching a live stream or
So their sense of adventure is now virtual and digital. They're in alternate worlds, as they call it, if you have VR glasses and stuff, which is cool. Right? I don't know if it's the best.
It's stripped away some elements of childhood now.
I don't know.
I think another one to add, something that was probably discouraged back in the day, but now is celebrated, is just being able to communicate.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of men in the past it was very discouraged for you to just be loosely saying how you feel. You know, you could never.
You're not trying to hear. No one's trying to hear that, bro.
Yeah, like we're not here. We're just here for a beer. Relax. We don't want to hear what you're going through.
Yeah.
Just here to drink and all make sighs and groans. You know, but not really say what we're going through.
Yeah.
You know, so I think now that's kind of shifted to
talk to me, bro.
Talk to me. What's going on?
Yeah.
And intentionally having circles around you of people you can talk to.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Even sometimes therapy is now even something that, you know, we suggest as brothers to say, I think, bro, therapy can help. Whereas back in the day, it was like, oh, you're going to therapy, you're a weak man.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, it would be things
guys,
like
we were
that.
toxic, guys. You know, I had to.
Wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know, so that's definitely changed. And I think it's helping because it's creating healthier men. But on the other side, it's like what you were saying, the quality of being able to stay through and get things done. Sometimes I am 100% for people getting the help that they need, but I am a very solution-driven person.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about a problem, at the end of that conversation, there needs to be a solution.
For sure.
You know, so I celebrate the therapy, I celebrate the venting sessions, but even more than that, I celebrate the solutions that we find when we vent brother to brother.
Yeah, that's,
you know?
that's prime. That's prime.
Yeah. And just moving on as we get closer to the end of this beautiful conversation, my brother, do you feel that, you know, discipline has changed both in the home and in the school? And what kind of impact do you feel that has on the kind of men that society is producing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it has changed. You know, just moving from, like, there's the thing now with parenting. People call it gentle parenting.
Yeah.
I have my reservations on it. And yeah, I think there are pros and cons. You know, we faced a lot of corporal punishment, and now a lot of people have the whole thing of like privileges being taken away, sanctions being issued, so to speak, which can and are usually also effective. I just don't know to what extent. I also don't have the science behind it, or any data or experiments or any, you know, surveys that I've read per se, but just from my experience, I know that the corporal punishment did do a lot of good for me. And there were times where the spoken word or the spoken instruction or reprimand was also useful. And so, yeah, I think I've come out a balanced man. I know what discipline looks like, disciplining looks like. I know what cautioning looks like. I know what correction looks like or can look like. I would say for me, so my approach to it, if I can just add, I'm not a father yet. So all of this theory may be washed away when I actually am facing a mini me. I would say corporal punishment still has its place in a home and in a school, but it must, of course, be applied cautiously, because you don't want to traumatize the child, and you don't want to just be aimless about issuing pain, so to speak. I laugh about it, but it's serious, I promise. If you cannot spell your own name, what are we talking about? Where's this conversation? Like, corporal punishment has to make sense. Like, I need to spank you a little, right? If you're a baby or a child, and I'm issuing an instruction and you're not listening, and clearly words aren't working here, you need to experience some form of discomfort or pain to dissuade you from doing a certain thing, right? Not that it's the only thing, but there will be times where a spank will issue a thought process that if I do this,
don't touch the stove.
Yeah, like, yes, like, don't touch the stove is the most classic example. Pain will result in a lesson, right? So I could be the issue of the pain or the stove or whatever it is, but you get, I don't know if you get what I mean. Like, whereas when you're now, I feel like even as a teenager, there's a point where words I mean, corporal punishment doesn't work anymore. I remember some of my dorm mates in high school. Bruh, those guys were getting lashed every second day, right? And it's like, but guys, clearly lashing is not helping this man or this young man or this boy, you know? So it's got to be situational. I think that's my point before I kind of go on and on. You got to be wise in your application of discipline, where sometimes words are actually useful. And I'll then cue my mother. Guys, my mother barely spanked me or hit me. What actually wrecked me a lot of the times is what she said. You know when words pierce your soul, bro. Bro. I'll never forget. There's a time where I did something very dizzy. I can't even remember what I did. But it's the way she said it and the timing as well. What she said, the way she said it, and the timing. Basically, she was alluding to the fact that I've disappointed her to the point where she's helpless and she doesn't know what to do with me and she might even disown me, kind of thing. Crazy, right? But that ripped me more than any number of spanks or belt swings or whatever, because I'm like, I've disappointed her. I need to do better. I cannot do this again. Do you get what I'm saying? So timing, wisdom. Sometimes you just need to express that, look, this is not right. You should not do this. This is the consequence. It's now up to you. Then there's, this is not right. You know? Yeah. So I've kind of gone on a tangent and all, but I hear you. You know, things have changed, but I think there is a place as well for today where the parenting is useful. The corporal punishment. The corporal punishment. Also the gentle parenting. I know kids that are actually brilliant, lovely, amazing kids who've never been hit. Right? Because the parent found ways to communicate effectively what discipline looks like, what reward looks like, what punishment or consequence looks like, without laying a single hand on them. So it depends.
I get you. So the main takeaway being it's very situational. So there isn't a template or one size fits all for each situation. And another thing that I've noticed, even if you have any young nephews or whatever, is you notice that there's within households, it's now way less authority and way more negotiation. So the kids now are very able to communicate and to reason with you and say, no, but why are you beating me? There's way more negotiating that you have to do as a parent, as opposed to just, you have upset me, you have broken a rule, you are getting beaten. No, there's a conversation and some negotiation that this kid is gonna do to say.
And these kids are so smart.
They're smart.
Scary.
Yeah. It's wild. But I think to your point, there is definitely a place for a beating, and there is definitely a place for the gentle parenting. We're all searching for that elusive balance. Of just getting that
balance is key, bro.
And also beyond that, it's that same. Even if it's the same situation, different methods will work for different kids.
Oh yes, that's another thing. Yeah.
So you can see that maybe with Godfrey, when I speak to Godfrey, it's touching him real and it's motivating him to be a better person. But then when I speak to Gareth isn't hearing me. Gareth needs a beating, So it's those sorts of things that have kind of shifted. And I think now we have a brighter picture of the differences and some of the nuggets that the next generation can pick from yesterday's man and today's man. But when we look at the two, what do you feel is the biggest gap between yesterday's man and today's man? Do you feel it's in responsibility, it's within the emotional intelligence, it's within the relationships, or it's within ambition? Where do you feel the biggest gap between yesterday's man or today's man?
Such a good question. I think the biggest gap is willingness. So I say this about life. Life is a series of responses, right? Some responses are expected, some responses are natural, some responses are unnatural. I feel like at the center of all of it is willingness, right? There is what is expected of you as a man in a social space, in a professional space, in a platonic space, in a family space, political space, whichever space you're in, there's always what is expected of you. What is placed on your table is your willingness to honor that expectation, or show up, or fulfill that responsibility, or act as you are expected to act, or, and I think, there are differences. I think that's what creates that gap where, in a lot of instances, men of yesterday were perhaps more willing to do certain things that today's man isn't particularly willing to do. I'll give you a trivial example. And this one is also a little bit funny. What they call chivalry, right? A lot of men today are not willing to honor women in a particular way, or at least honor women at all, if that makes sense, for some spaces. It's just a willingness thing. Are you willing to somewhat elevate her, even if it's momentarily? Or are you willing to serve her? Are you willing to be selfless? Are you willing to look outwardly? These are all this willingness. She will expect you to protect her. She'll expect you to show up and understand her and listen and whatever. Are you willing? And I think there are gaps in between these generations when it comes to willingness. A man is expected to lead. A man is expected to provide. A man is expected to preside. A man is expected to, protect, whatever. But are you willing?
That one word covers everything. Because me in my mind, I would have broken it down to say, the biggest gap is how men now show up in relationships and marriages, this, that, and the other. But the key word is willingness.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
The willingness that the generation that came before us, they had a higher willingness, tolerance than us. A lot of times when it comes to it, a lot of men are not willing to do these things. They're not willing to die to self so they can provide for the family.
Stay the course.
Yes, to stay the course. They're not willing, so it's that willingness that that is kind of the biggest gap to your point. Because yes, we might sit here and say, the biggest difference is the way they express responsibility, this, that, and the other. But the umbrella term is going to be willingness.
You spoke about shortcuts.
Yeah.
So now the shortcut is sometimes rooted in willingness as it pertains to hard work. Are you willing to work hard? Of course, we can come up with nuances about smart work, but you can't run away from hard work.
You cannot.
Even if you want to make it biblical, you cannot run away from hard work, gentlemen, even if you're working smart. Working smart is hard, actually.
And as much you said, if we're gonna make it biblical, and please forgive me, going to.
No need to. You are not doing anything wrong. Yeah. Please proceed, brother.
So you mentioned willingness, right? And the theme of the whole Bible is a series of events of the Lord enabling the willing. The first characteristics that the Lord wanted from man is the willingness to say, are you willing to do this thing?
And obey.
And I will enable you. Oh, so you're willing to go on this journey. I'll enable you to kill Goliath. Oh, so you're willing to do this. I'll enable you to free the Israelites. So it's that willingness, that characteristic that once we sharpen as a generation, I feel we will be enabled to do the most. And it will probably be beautiful to watch. And two things you mentioned that really stood out to me, particularly within the way things are defined. You mentioned off the bat that the biggest difference is in the definition of terms. Provider today is different to provider back then. Success today is different to, to back then. So it's just something I wanted to highlight, just to say, shout out to you. That's something that it's also kind of given me something to think about differently. I think there's a term for it. I recently learned about it, zeitgeist.
Oh yeah.
Spirit of the day.
Yeah.
So depending on the spirit of the day, that's what the definition will be.
Makes sense.
The spirit of today now is being available, being present, and all the other things that we've mentioned. Yeah. And then now when we've defined the gap, biggest gap being willingness. But then now, what lessons from yesterday's man do you think that the young men today need to hold on to? Would you still go ahead and say they need to hold on to the willingness, or is there a trait that you feel like for the next generation, maybe our sons?
I think one of the biggest lessons we can learn from yesterday is about response. So I don't think that the challenges of yesterday are too different to what's happening today as a man sees them, right? But how a man responded yesterday is quite different today, and we can learn something from that. So if you're going to be, are you going to act in faith or are you going to act in fear? That's a response question. I think that's something we can learn. I know fear drove a lot of decisions yesterday. I think today we can adjust and apply a lot more faith. So from my purview as a Christian man, I can't see it any other way that it's, when we say talk about faith, we're talking about Christianity. But I think even if you're not Christian, I'll try at least say that you should be more positive, more optimistic, and have a little bit more assurance and assertiveness about the decisions you're making, where it's not driven by fear. And I think that's where we can learn a lot. Now, I guess another example again, just from what's personal to me, I am almost certain that a lot of the decisions that my dad made in his adolescence as a young adult were driven by fear that I grew up a certain way. I'm afraid that my kids would grow up the same way, and I don't want that. And so we had what we could call a great life, but it's the fruits of hard work driven by fear, right? I never want to be hungry again. I never want to be homeless again, whatever, right? I'm afraid that my kids may be in the same place, so no. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like, fear would just drive a lot of decisions. Whatever car you're driving, whatever work job you're seeking, right? You're afraid of poverty, you're afraid of lack, or you're afraid of inadequacy, right? Whereas if faith or the positive or the goodness is actually saying, look, I've tasted success, or I've seen success, or I've had a glimpse of success, I'm more inspired by that decision, by health, by wealth, and growth and development. That I feel is just such a better approach to what today can look like, as we can learn from yesterday. I think that sums up my response. That let's be it's that forces thing.
Let's be more driven by what we want than what we fear.
What we fear we don't have, or can't have.
Okay. And it's funny because when you speak to people even today, when you ask them why they work so hard, it's the fear of poverty, right? It's a great motivator. But is it a healthy motivator?
Probably not.
So
because then if you're saying poverty is driving you, I feel like you come out a lot better if you're being driven. Now maybe I'm speaking from a place of privilege. Maybe I should note that. Like I've seen how much good it does for me in my decision making regarding my work or my vocation or passion project when I say to myself, I enjoy this. Then if I don't, I'm screwed. It's totally different. You may get to the same destination, But how you get there is totally different. You might bleed on people. You might step on people because fear is driving you. Whereas if that optimism and faith is driving you, you may uplift people, you may affirm people and encourage people and support people and empower people whilst you're doing it. And that does a lot more good for everyone.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I think, can you believe it? We're down to the last question already.
Bro, hey.
But you've mentioned what we need to let go of, right? Which is the being driven by fear, and moving and shifting our perspective to being driven more by faith as we evolve, right? But then now, what's a good trait that you think that the next generation of men should hold on to? Because we've spoken about what we should let go, right? What do you feel as we evolve, regardless of the many evolutions that we're going to have as men, even when we get to 30, 20, what's a trait that you think should still survive the test of time?
So the first word that came to mind is identity.
Okay.
So a good, healthy, progressive sense of identity is so important. And I think tomorrow's man should learn about that and hold on to that.
Knowing thyself.
Knowing thyself.
Yeah.
It just informs your decisions. Good decisions. I like saying this about decisions, that the better the information you have at your disposal, the better your decisions will be. So if you are trying to make decisions that may impact you and beyond, it helps to have good information. So if you're the focal point of your decisions, you need to be in a good stead. That means knowing yourself well, knowing about yourself, and knowing how you respond to things, self-awareness, right? All of that stuff, introspection, reflection, being in retrospect from a healthy point of view, all of that stuff is all just how you identify yourself, where you place yourself in society, in a company, in a family, knowing your role, knowing what you're capable of, knowing what triggers you. All of that stuff is actually really, really useful. The contrast of that is all this brokenness in society where people are lost, people don't know who they are, people don't understand why they are. And now you have all this confusion breaking out in violence, breaking out in depression and all of this stuff. I say that with an asterisk because depression may also be medical. But yeah,
I think you said people don't know who they are, which is causing confusion, right? And what we've learned is, because every 2 seconds there's someone trying to sell you something on your phone. So my biggest concern is that when someone doesn't know who they are in this day and age, someone will tell you who you are. Someone will force feed you who you are, because their goal is to create a certain type of person, right? So now we've got people who step into the world without a good rooting within self, good rooting within where I come from, who are my people, what do I stand for,
where am I going,
right? So now the internet will tell you who you are. The internet will tell you where you're going. The internet will tell you what you stand for. So I like that the identity, there's something that people need to hold on to, even regardless of how many evolutions take place, how many times the man is going to evolve. Identity is always going to be key. And Godfrey, my brother, that actually brings us to the end of our conversation.
Oh man, already?
Can you imagine that? And as I mentioned, guys, to everyone watching at home, that brings us to the end of today's conversation. And a big thank you to my brother Godfrey for bringing such depth and honesty as we unpack the contrast between yesterday's man and today's man. If there's one thing we can take away from this episode, is that growth doesn't mean abandoning the past. It means understanding it, learning from it, and choosing what to carry forward as we build a better future for ourselves and the young men that come after us. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, please leave a comment. It really helps our channel grow. Until next time, stay grounded, keep learning, and keep building. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bro.
Thanks, my brother.
No, man. That was solid.